Thank you all for attending this afternoon, the Public Rights Way Scrutiny Working Group. Can I, first of all, for those people who are online, introduce who we are in the room here today?
Hand up from Peter.
Peter
Black.
Yeah, Peter?
Yeah, Chair, the Gloucester room camera doesn't appear to be on.
It is for me.
I haven't got it.
Is anyone else having that trouble online to see the Gloucester room?
Okay.
No.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, Peter, I was saying I know you're trying to go out and come back in, whatever, but if not, you still hear us online anyway. I can hear the meeting. Right. What I'd like to do first for those people online to introduce who we are in the room. I'm Mike White, the convener of this panel. To my right, I have
Paul Mellor, Natural Environment Manager.
Bill Marshall, Countryside Access Officer.
Caroline Gregg, Countryside Access Officer.
Kevin Thomas, Countryside Access Officer.
and to my left.
Rachel Percival, Scrutiny Officer.
Thank you all. Right, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting, particularly Councillor Andrew Stevens, for Cabinet for Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Paul Mellor, Mr. Christie is online, and members of the Access Countryside team who've just introduced themselves to the room. Right, if you start at the agenda, then please, first item is apologies for absence.
No apologies, Chair.
Item 2, disclosures of interest of members. Councillor Andrew Stevens, Councillor Paxton Holt-Williams as well. Andrew Stevens first, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I possibly have a personal interest. I have a right of way going across my farm, actually. It's actually behind me in the background. So.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Paxton Holt-Williams.
Hi, Chairman. I declare an interest as Chairman of Swansea Local Access Forum.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Holt-Williams. Rachel will make sure to send out the forms so you do. And sorry, Councillor Chris Evans.
Yeah, just a personal interest in that. I work for the Gower Walking Festival, and we use a lot of the parks on that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Evans. Yeah, can you just ensure you fill in the declaration form, please? Thank you. Item 3, prohibition of whip votes and declarations of party whips. Any? None? Right. Number 4, public questions.
We've had no public questions,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you, Rachel. Item 5 is obviously the report which we've had been sent. I'd like to ask Councillor Andrew Stevens if you want to perhaps introduce the item, and then who's going to take the report. Over to you, Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I'm happy to attend the scrutiny on our public rights of way network and countryside access in Swansea. I'll hand over Paul to go through to the detail on the report, but I did want to touch on a few things, if I may. I'm sure all members are aware that public rights of way are routes that let the public access and enjoy the countryside and its natural beauty in our county. They include things like footways, bridleways and byways. We actually have a varied and rich network in Swansea, spanning over 400 miles and linking most of the beaches around the Gower AOMB. These routes are vital for our recreation and tourism, Chair, as well as for the health and well-being of our residents and visitors. They offer opportunities for physical activity, mental relaxation, social interaction and environmental education. So they also boost the local economy by drawing visitors and businesses and improving the quality of life of the people who live and work here. So accessing rural walking routes can have many benefits for individuals and communities, Walking in nature can actually boost physical and mental health, lower stress and anxiety, improve mood and self-esteem. Walking can also create social connections and inclusions, as people can make new friends, join walking groups, or volunteer to maintain paths. They help to protect the environment by cutting down on car travel, emissions and congestion, and by increasing awareness and appreciation of the natural and cultural heritage of our countryside. This also applies to many of our active travel routes. Yeah, we're lucky to have some of the most beautiful areas, rural areas in the UK. I know I might be a little biased. I've walked many of our routes with my family, not only in Gower, which is a stunning AONB, but in other parts of rural Swansea, where you can find hidden gems and scenic views. In fact, there's one of them right behind me, Chair. So I hope you all share my enthusiasm for the countryside, and I hope you don't mind, Chair. But I did want to use this opportunity. It is actually outlined in Appendix A to stress the importance of following the countryside code and being respectful and responsible when walking in rural areas. We have sent out comms on this, but hopefully you can all pass this on to your residents. It's extremely important when crossing farms where you may meet livestock such as sheep and cattle, that dogs remain on our lead. Livestock are a vital part of our rural economy and landscape, and they provide us with food and other products. However, they can be very sensitive to disturbance, especially during certain times of the year. If a dog chases a sheep, for example, it can cause them to die or miscarry, even if the dog doesn't come in contact with them, or it can cause cattle to be overly curious or even protective, especially if they have calves at foot. There are serious and tragic consequences that we all want to prevent, and this is why it's essential that walkers follow the countryside code. As a farmer who has a right of way along the back end of our farm, we love to see people out enjoying the countryside and using the routes, providing they are respectful to their surroundings. I know our countryside access team works closely with many farmers across the county and other partners in rural Swansea to support and maintain a network of rural footpaths that add charm and people's enjoyment of this incredible place. I'd like to put on record my thanks to Paul, who's done a great job of pulling this report together, Chair, and to our whole countryside access team, who have been doing some excellent work to manage and improve our public rights of way network across the county. As you can see, they're a small but dedicated team who I believe really value the importance and benefits of our rural rights of way. So thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to hand over to Paul.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Yeah, as the cabinet member has said, we've obviously got as well with us it's for the meeting Mr. Chris Dale, the countryside access team leader, who's with us online, and Mr. Paul Mellor, and obviously members of the countryside access team. But now can I hand over to Mr. Mellor, please, to go through these areas of his report. Thank you, Mr. Mellor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Stevens, as well, for that introduction. Appreciated by the team, I know. So today we're looking at public rights of way and the roles and responsibilities of the team. I'll just start by just providing a bit of context. The team are part of the natural environment section, which includes nature conservation, AONB, and landscape teams. They say they come on to it later on, but there have been staffing issues over the past year. But I just want to place on record my thanks at the beginning, particularly to Phil and Caroline, who sitting to my right, who have carried most of the workload over the past year. The rights of way network is extensive, 650 kilometres, 80% of which are footpaths. And we've also got 16% of the total area of the county as access land. And 2/3 of the path network is within the Gower AONB. I think perhaps the eagle-eyed amongst you may have spotted a typo under paragraph 2.1 of the report. Extent of footpaths is 520 kilometres, and the extent of bridleways is 128 kilometres, not 568 and 80 kilometres as indicated. It isn't always easy to identify what is a right of way. You know, they're often confused with footpaths and pavements, and increasingly of late now there are a number of active travel routes, which they kind of fall between the stools at times. Sometimes they may be active travel routes may be following rights of way, but after a period of time they become adopted as part of the public highway network. So there are a lot of statutory duties that the team has under managing, maintaining, protecting and recording the rights of way. I'll just pick out a few aspects of that which are highlighted in the report. And firstly, most importantly, it's that the team are responsible for producing a countryside access plan. And that's a 10-year plan which identifies the changes to be made in respect to the management and improvement of the rights of way network. Where the plan is currently, well, it has been prepared in draft format, and that is due to go before planning committee on the 5th of December for approval to go to public consultation. That consultation period is for around about 12 weeks. And we're hoping to get to a stage of adoption spring next year. So just to pick out a couple of the key objectives of that plan, which is important to note, it includes improving the coastal access around the Wales coastal path, generally increasing the connectivity of the path network, particularly in areas where there is demand, but few or very few or no paths at all, and upgrading it to so that 75% is classified as easy to use. So those are some of the key objectives of the plan, and within that plan is an action plan identifying how we can achieve those targets. In terms of maintaining the network, the council has a relatively limited budget, and that's direct of around about £45,000, and that involves regular clearance of vegetation, repairing the infrastructure on the footpath network, and that comes from the council's base budget. We can't have, or we're not eligible to apply for external funding for maintenance work. As I mentioned, the aim is to get the paths up to a standard that 75% are at least easy to use, and within the Gower AOMB and the coastal access zone, that target is actually 95% to meet that standard. Presently, around 60% is considered easy to use. So that's that's the target over the next 10 years, is to increase it to those levels, 75% and 95%. In terms of the sort of maintenance tasks that are undertaken, that includes sort of clearance of vegetation, surface improvements, it's signposting and waymarking. There's a lot of repair of bridges, replacement of stiles, and also controlling access to the paths. There's issues with illegal access to routes. In terms of duties relating to protecting the network and preventing obstruction, certainly if people or users of the network find a path is obstructed, they can bypass it, taking the shortest detour possible. But where those are encountered, obviously we encourage people to report those problems to the team, and there's an online facility for doing that, and then a process that we would follow in terms of taking action either to remedy the issue, or if necessary, it could lead on to enforcement action. So again, the Countryside Access Plan would set out the procedures we take if enforcement action is required. And you know, as I say, if that obstruction is actually deliberate by a landowner, it ultimately could lead to prosecution proceedings in serious cases. There's also a duty to record the network, and there's a definitive map and statement which is a record of all the registered public footpaths, bridleways and byways in the county. And you know, that is regularly updated by the team. It's available online. It's available to view in at reception at Civic Centre. And you know, over the past 15 years, there's been an increase in the network of around 45 kilometres, and you know, that's likely to continue to increase going forward. The definitive map is certainly in paper format, has to be updated, as well as an online version. The latest version was published in June this year, and it replaced the previous version, which actually had a base date of 1971. So it was certainly well overdue. So moving on then, so how do changes to the network occur? They can be diversions. There could be a new path dedicated, usually with the agreement of the landowner. It could come about as a result of claims. People claiming that a route that's not shown on the definitive map, or possibly an extinguishment of a route, but that's extremely rare. You know, the processes for all those procedures are fairly similar and tend to be lengthy. And you know, there's opportunity for people to object, and you can even go to the planning inspectorate for determination in some cases. So it can take quite a while for any changes to be made to the network. There can also be temporary closures to paths as well, whilst works are being carried out. And so that again, there's a cost for that, including advertising it in the press. If a claim is made, the evidence must be submitted that a route has been used continuously for at least 20 years by the public. You know, there's been a few queries we've received whilst preparing this report around public rights of way and development, and certainly there's quite a detailed policy set out in the council's local development plan for any decisions relating to any development that may impact on the path network. And basically that seeks to ensure that the existing paths around the area are improved upon. I mean, a substantial development can significantly alter the path network, but the ultimate aim would be to ensure that access within and around the site, there is ideally a net gain for users. Often we will seek Section 106 planning obligations to improve to achieve these improvements. Moving on, the work of the Countryside Access team is overseen by the Swansea Local Access Forum, and Councillor Baxton Williams as the chair of that. And they provide advice to the council and Natural Resources Wales on the improvement of public access, and you know, the rights of way network, and looking at sort of recreation and access strategies for all. And that is a requirement of the Countryside and Rights of Way Act, that we, as an authority, we must establish a local access forum, and there's election of members to that forum based on a balanced representation of recreational access users, landowners, and others interested in access to the area in relation to conservation, tourism, etc. Part of the work of the team is to promote the routes that they look after, and there are a number of leaflets published in hard copy and online which encourage people to explore the routes. And again, a lot of these routes have been made accessible through grant aid funding. There's also a Gower walking app as well, which contains details of walks throughout the county, and the walks are spread right across the county, and a different lengths and different ease of use. You know, underpinning the work is the need to have regard to the Equality Act, and certainly the needs of people with perhaps mobility issues, and that's where we're looking at you know, replacing stiles with gates and other furniture to improve access along the paths. In terms of the staff resources, you know, it's been difficult, certainly over the past year, through illness of a team member and another team member leaving or retiring. But the team is back to full complement at the moment, and Kevin is sitting on the end here. He's joined us in June and is an experienced rights of way officer. But over the years, we've lost one Countryside Access officer, 2 Countryside Access rangers, plus the support of part-time legal officers who advise us on the legal side of matters. So that has impacted on what the team have been able to deliver, because officers have taken on additional duties in terms of undertaking operational tasks on site, as well as their professional duties, and now also the legal work that has passed to the team as well. Budget-wise, you know, the team's heavily supported by Welsh Government and Natural Resources Wales grant schemes, and that's enabled some significant improvements to the path network around the county. We've had some smaller contributions from the Gower Society as well. Obviously, these funding streams are not guaranteed, and they fluctuate slightly from year to year. They've been fairly consistent for the past few years, and around the sort of 100 to 120,000 pound mark each year. More recently, Welsh Government have put conditions on the grant that they have awarded to the authority, and that includes having the local access forum in place and up and running, and having a countryside access plan adopted. We've also other sort of funding sources. We've benefited from contributions from members towards helping resolve some problems within their wards, and that's always greatly appreciated. And I think pick it up again. Some may have picked up that actually our maintenance funding has increased slightly in recent years. Now that has been as a result of the loss of the two ranger posts. Some went to budget savings, and some of those posts costs went into the maintenance budget, because that's what they were primarily employed to do, was carry out maintenance. So to summarise the report, as Councillor Stevens said earlier, the network, the right-of-way network, provides significant economic and well-being benefits for the local economy and visitors. You know, it's the main means of access to most of the beaches around Gower, that's the main tourist attraction to the area. There are significant statutory requirements on the team. You know, the service is totally dependent on grant funding to carry out improvements, with routine maintenance being the duty of the council. There's expectations of increasing that more routes will become accessible, certainly over the course of the next decade. We feel that there's adequate policy in place for protecting paths that are potentially impacted by development sites. The team's taken on board the right-of-way legal work, and we know the numbers of staff have decreased. It is worth pointing out that there's a slight discrepancy between English and Welsh legislation in terms of how the path network is recorded, and that's placing an unnecessary burden on Welsh authorities in terms of advertisement requirements, etc. So I know we've made representations to the Welsh Government in this regard, and we'll continue to do that because it'll make things a lot easier for us. And yeah, I mean, we'll continue to promote routes, but there is an issue we have encountered with certain routes being promoted by other organisations, or in I think the Gower places of worship trail being one where we weren't consulted on it, and obviously that places an additional burden on us because it hasn't been following the promoted routes, and actually we could have actually suggested a better route for them if they'd consulted with us beforehand. So there's kind of an end of the plea that you know, we need anyone to engage with the team before they're looking to promote additional routes within the county. So I think that was just a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I'm happy to take any questions on the colleagues here as well to assist.
Thank you, Mr. Mellor, for your detailed report there. And there are additional pages there in the Appendix A for members, you know, regarding the responsibilities, landowners' responsibilities, of the public, and the number of obviously pathways in each ward, and of course the planning policy on the public rights of way. That's all information for members there as well. Right, we have some questions, Mr. Mellor. And I would like to first take them in order that the members have indicated they'd like to ask you questions. First question is from Councillor Peter Black.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When I was reading through this report, I noted that we're actually spending huge amounts of money now on putting new cycleways in. A lot of those would go along existing highways. Some of those will be using existing rights of way, but some of them will, for example, maybe creating new rights of way. I mean, for example, I've just been looking on the definitive map, and there's a cycleway going from the bottom of Cave Street to Healer Course, which is not on your definitive map, but which is a right of way used by cyclists and pedestrians, and is part of the council's cycleway network. So I'm just wondering, how does that fit into this network of right of way, or is that a completely different separate subject?
I mean, the active travel routes are obviously providing greater access opportunities. As I say, I'm not familiar with that one you just mentioned, but I think if it's not on the definitive map, then it's not a registered rights of way as it stands. I don't know whether colleagues would want to add to that, but you know, we certainly welcome the expansion of the network and more shared use paths, and that's all about improving accessibility. I think those sort of routes will ultimately be adopted by the Highways Department and become their responsibility for future maintenance rather than the Countryside Access team. So it'll sit alongside and complement the network rather than become part of it.
And that's the case, even they don't follow existing highways.
Yes, so that's as part of the process. There's a little bit of a grey area at the moment in that paths.
It's a different map. You've got
Yeah,
our map, which
yeah,
is the definitive map,
yeah,
and you've got the active travel map.
Yeah, so that some of these paths will follow public rights of way.
Yeah.
In wholly or in part. But there's then a sort of a adoption process which can take about the best part of a year, which they eventually move, if you like, the responsibility for maintaining them will pass across to the Highways Department and or parks. Those would remain part of the network, but there's also a complementary network of active travel routes. Say they will overlay in part, but they are separate.
Okay.
Second question from Councillor Black again.
Yeah,
Councillor Black.
I've got a couple of questions around the funding, if that's okay. I noticed you say you get grants from the Countryside Council for it's Natural Resources Wales now and the Welsh Government towards funding these. But in Appendix F, looking at the budget, you've actually got them as being taken off the actual as a deduction as opposed to an addition, which seems to me to be counterintuitive. So I'm just wondering how that works out in terms of the budget you've got.
Okay, yeah. So I think the sort of situation is in order to achieve revenue budget savings and protecting staff resources and the service delivery. We've been sort of maximizing the grant funding opportunities to help fund our work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's no different to other parts of the council, and it's it's sort of it may seem to be grants coming in, but we've already acknowledged the savings in the budget as well. So the net budget is that we have is, you know, I say around about the 40,000 mark at the moment.
So I don't follow that. I mean, how can a grant being received by the council be a net cost?
Yeah, it's not a net. So let me have a look at.
It's being shown as a net cost on this in Appendix F.
Just maybe where that it's perhaps it's just the way it's been simplified, but it's not. It's not a cost.
Could you unsimplify it for me then, so I can understand?
So, yeah, so any particular year you're looking at?
Well, every year it's down as minus 122,000, 22-23 minus 98,000, 23-24 minus 98,000. It says less grants. I just don't understand how a grant can be a net cost.
Yeah, so so we have a budget. This is how our budgets are given to us.
Yeah.
We have a gross budget. Then we have the grants that come in are for the most part deducted from whatever gross budget we have, and the net budget is all we are given as our budget for the year.
So you're saying the grants aren't actually spent on what they're giving you for? Because surely the grant should be additional to the gross budget.
Yeah, the grants are spent primarily, like we wash those grants through. They're spent primarily on capital works.
So I still can't follow this. How is a grant a net cost? I just don't understand it.
I wouldn't say it's a cost. I just say that the grants are taken off our budget.
So the grants aren't given to you at all?
They're used as a saving.
But doesn't that go against the terms of the grant? Sure, the grant is being given you for a specific purpose, which has to be spent on. How can it be used as a saving? Surely the grant should be supplementing the budget, not be taken off the budget.
I think that this is this is the way we work in these in our section. You know, as I say, that's it's a situation in the A&V team and the nature conservation team.
So on natural resources wells, aware that this money's not being spent to what it's intended for?
Well, it is spent.
Well, if it's being spent, how could it be spent if it was a saving? I just don't follow this at all. I'm sorry. This makes no common sense to me at all.
Yeah, it's taken off our maintenance budget.
Chair, if I can just come in and get a sec there, would it be minded to perhaps outline it perhaps in a written response or something to the committee?
Yes, you happy with that, Councillor Black?
I think some clarification is needed here, because are these grants capital or revenue? If you're given a budget for rights of way, then you would expect the grants to be spent in addition to that. I just don't understand how it's down as a net cost. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. So maybe a written response might help, but I certainly want, that written response isn't any clearer, I think we may need to come back.
Yeah, okay, Councillor Black, we'll ask the officers to go away and to go in and get and send a written response in regards to the points you raised. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. No, on that point, I would have, in the same way that Councillor Black pointed out, I would have thought the grant would be in addition to the basic budget. So whatever the basic budget is, all of a sudden you get you've applied for and you've got a grant. So that is actually that's additional money that you've got to spend on whatever you've asked for that money for from whatever organisation. So that should really be a plus, not actually a minus. I would have thought.
Which is my point as well. Yes.
Yeah, and come back again. I wish that was the case. We all wish that was the case, but this is the way we operate. Yeah, we have inherited a situation where capital money has been taken off our revenue budget, so we have far less to work with than we should have. That's the bottom line. And it's a frustration to us. It's a frustration to every other team. But you know, historically, the decision's been made by the authority that certain capital monies that are coming in are taken off our revenue budget, which means we have less money to spend. And there's no way of reconciling that without getting rid of staff, and that's not an option.
Can I just say, Chair, that complete goes against every law of local government finance I understand, because you're mixing up capital and revenue and penalising revenue for capital grants. It just makes no sense. I really think maybe we have to get the head of finance in to explain that.
Yeah, can I say, possibly let the officers,
Yeah, I can see what the response says. Yeah,
that we go away and let the officers get a response, and we see the response we get and the need for the follow up. Is that okay? Yeah. We get a written response on the what you've asked to be explained regarding the question. Councillor Black,
yeah.
Question 3.
I think the officer actually answered question 3 as part. I think the officer actually answered question 2. Sorry.
Is that obviously linked the both in together?
Well, no, it's slightly different. But I think the officer actually answered question 3 when he explained that they were using the staff savings for maintenance. So I think that's explained that for me. Though that there is a substantial uplift from 21. No, is it? That's fine. That's fine. I think he explained that. Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, happy with that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. On to question 4 that I'd like to ask, if possible. Our internal departments working together to promote public rights of way.
Thank you, Chair. So the rights of way are promoted on the council's web pages and also on Visit to Swansea Bay. Getting active through walk-in is promoted by the council's walk-in development officer. We know the Countryside Access team display the signage along the paths, but they also work with other service areas to provide information along rights of way at key locations, with provision of information boards, etc. We've seen that recently at Penna Castle and Kevin Bryn. We liaise with comms when there's a new route to be perhaps promoted, or indeed if it's going to be improved. Use comms to give advance notice of any sort of temporary closures to carry out works, and then highlight the works that then have been undertaken following completion. I think there's sort of there's a lot of good publicity on the coastal path improvements between Limeslade and Caswell that Phil has delivered over the last few years. Obviously, the closure of tourist information centres hasn't helped with some of our being able to promote some of the routes on a sort of on the downside of things.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Weller. Can I just ask, obviously, are you having meetings with the appropriate colleagues in this department when you're ready to promote a route? Is there a launch? So
I don't know whether colleagues who've been involved in promoting some of those routes might want to explain.
We have done launches in the past. We've done Mauer, a couple up there. There was a Coast Path launch when that was done as well, but we haven't done any new promoted routes recently. Obviously, budgets and staff have put that paid to that. But yeah, if there are new routes, or if we do work on a route, we'll try to do it through Jason Rogers and things like that as well.
Right. Could I also ask as well, then, we've said obviously, unfortunately, we haven't got the tourist information now within the city centre. But what about sort of outlets like shops or libraries within those communities? Is the information shared with them or given to them?
Basically, whenever we've produced a physical leaflet, we've arranged with libraries to drop them off at the libraries, but their space is condensing, as is everything. We also have dropouts to tourism facilities, for example, campsites, one of our major ones, especially with the Coast Path. And we are currently reprinting the Coast Path in conjunction with the AONB team. And obviously anything we do now, we also do web-based to make it easier for people to access, and obviously storage costs, printing, everything like that. It all has a major cost. So if we can do it all online and people can download it, obviously downloading things as either web apps or using Ordnance Survey maps on their phone to follow routes in conjunction with PDFs online It's sort of gone more digital with it, just because there is no TIC in the county, Tourist Information Centre within the county, to take these leaflets. And that's something obviously other departments have to think about as well, with regards to shorter active travel, walks, getting people going, people with heart referrals, everything like that. There needs to be somewhere really that people can access this information. At the moment, the Visit Swansea Bay tourism website is the easiest place for people to find this. Oh, and the Civic Centre, we've got a little sort of display at the beginning of Civic,
Yes.
where people walk in.
Yeah, have you thought of obviously working within the quadrant or the railway station to perhaps we can promote these rights away, or perhaps we could perhaps look when people get the council tax bills, they could be perhaps included as part of the information within that, so we can really spread out the sort of information regarding promoting our public rights away. Just a thought that perhaps could be looked at.
With regards to sending out with council tax bill, are you talking sort of sending out to a specific area,
No,
the
no,
walks that are in the area, or just generally
No,
the walks?
sort of, yes, all across the but information within the pack that we do, that obviously gets sent out.
And it may be better doing a single sheet for that,
exactly,
because they are quite bulky and it would
Yeah,
cost
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
in postage.
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yes, possibly an double-sided A4, whatever, where routes are, perhaps in the use of the community, or perhaps places of interest, so it's giving people the opportunity who live in Swansea to know exactly that there are these routes out there and available for their health and well-being. Sorry, Richard. Can I ask another question? What is the level of outside stakeholder, external agency support and collaboration for additional funding?
The chair. So I'd say it's around about, in terms of the actual amount, around about 100 to 120,000 annually, primarily from Welsh Government and Natural Resources Wales. Gower Society give us a little bit as well. We also liaise with the other teams in the section, Gower B team and Nature Conservation, because they have potential funding sources which are also aimed at improving recreational access. So we can collaborate with them. The team also work closely with volunteer groups such as the Ramblers, and we can use their time as part of sort of match funding towards grants. Some grants are 100%, and some are say 75%, and we have to find a 25% contribution, and that can be officer time, it can be volunteer time as well. Obviously liaise with local landowners, farmers, etc., and they can help out as well in ways that would save us in terms of costs, with installation of gates, etc., on their land. We provide the gates to them, and they'll install it, so that helps save costs then. And other, Phil's been involved in a scheme recently with Welsh Water Dŵr Cymru for improvement around the Llw reservoirs, and that's become a public right of way of late. So there's a variety of different ways, and we're obviously looking for more sources or ways of working.
Yeah, because I think that's important, because as I say, everybody would like to write those to use the countryside and stuff like that, because I thought plus plus working with a lot of these areas, we've got community councils, plus a cross partnership with community councils, or perhaps we could look at doing some sponsorships within businesses and perhaps within the area, because you obviously flag up signage boards on the routes, which is of interest to us on that route. And as I say, and I think that would be very advantageous in actually promoting people to use these routes, because if they know that there's destinations along those routes, I'm very keen as well, obviously, that plus you can draw in education in this as well for our younger persons, to encourage them for their health and well-being, but also about using the public rights of way networks. But No, as I say, it was something perhaps could be considered. You know, if we could do these, especially these advertising what's are the sort of areas of interest on those routes. That's just something would help as well with, as I say, drawing in additional funding.
We deal quite regularly with the community councils. We've got quite a good relationship with most of them, reporting things to us. So that is a good one that we do. You know, we have got sort of on the go already. So.
Sorry, one thing as well. You mentioned destination signs. That is in the countryside access plan. When there is a destination, for example, using Llyw Reservoir as an example, we will put distances where it goes to, just to give people a better idea of how to get to it. But we obviously don't do that for every different site. We just usually mark the rights of way with either the footpath or the bridleway sign. But if there is a specific destination, coast path being another example, it just gives people that little bit further information. Just to enable them to say, oh, I can actually walk there, I can get that distance, or I might find that a bit too much. Plus, obviously, the rights of way network map is on, the definitive map is online as well for people to have a look at and get a better idea. And we do get emails through from people asking with regards to areas where they could go for people who are sort of wheelchair or lesser mobility. So we can give information on that as well as requests come into the countryside access team.
Yeah, no, I thought plus, you know, like a sort of, let's say, like a sort of landmark area, like a castle or a church of interest, you know, that's on that route. Plus people who might be visiting family in the area, live in that area, want to go for walking, and they can obviously see that they know exactly what they can actually look out along that route. You know, and so that might well be advantage to promote the network as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call back in Councillor Black because, you know, rather than go forward the questions, there's one relating to Councillor Toole that Councillor Black would like a follow-up question on. If you like, Councillor Black.
Sorry, what was that, Mike?
About the grants.
Oh yeah, on the message I put in the chat, is it?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify on the budget. Is the budget which you've got in Appendix F all revenue, or is it capital, or is it a mix of both?
It's our revenue budget.
To pop the
It's our revenue budget.
That's entirely revenue. Okay, so but
Yeah.
are the grants revenue or capital?
It seems to vary from year to year whether they're treated as revenue or capital, and that's the problem we're juggling with. But as far as we're concerned, that's the only budget we have. We don't have a separate capital budget.
Right, because maintenance would normally come under revenue for the council, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Capital would involve the construction of actual hard assets as opposed to maintenance of them.
Yeah, and I say that, but it all comes into our revenue budget.
Yeah, so this is all revenue then, basically. Okay, I just want to clarify that. Thanks for that.
Yes, correct. Councillor Paxton, is this relating as well to the same point that Councillor Black raised?
Yeah, basically in terms of this budget situation, the way it's written, I'm going to hazard a guess as to what the situation is, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but the gross budget is the amount of money, by and large, I think, that the department has to work with within the year. The grants that come in then are usually for a fixed purpose, so it's not discretionary money. The net budget then does become the discretionary money after the fixed jobs have been taken out, or the fixed jobs have been taken out, and then that net budget is used to basically finance salaries, materials, plant, etc., and leave that 20 odd, hopefully now 45,000, which is much better this year, I must admit, for maintenance. And I think that's the way it breaks down, and that's why I think that the confusion is coming in, is that where it's shown grants, that's non-discretionary cash that has got to be spent in a specific way, whereas that leaves that net budget, which is discretionary and can be used as the department sees fit. Does that make sense?
I think that's very well summarised. Thank you.
It would make sense if you changed the terms then, because it's not a net budget, is it? It's a discretionary budget.
Yeah, I think we could argue with that for the terminology
Well,
for
that's
some
why
time,
the
Peter,
confusion's
but
coming
I
in
think
using
that's the
terms,
principle behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say yes? I say we get that sort out, and we also get a response in writing just to clear up that point. Councillor Jones, is this again relating to the?
It wasn't. I was going to raise a couple of ask a couple of questions, but I'll wait if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can just we just got another 3 left, Councillor Jones, and then we'll take any additional questions. That's all right. Right. Councillor Will Thomas sent a question, so he has Councillor Thomas not here. I'll ask him to draft. The standard of public rights of way maintenance has dropped over a period of years. For instance, there are no longer waiting times now before reported maintenance is carried out. What are the current staffing and subcontractor numbers compared to 15 years ago? Is this decline due to reduction of staff over time, or are there other factors?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think I did pick up on this in part. So certainly there's been a reduction in staff over that period. One less countryside access officer. Both countryside access ranger posts no longer exist, and there were 2 part-time legal posts which were shared with Neath Talbot Council, and they've gone as well. The maintenance budget has largely stayed the same, but there's obviously been increasing contractor costs, and so that the extent of the path maintenance has effectively been reduced, and I say that's the main contributing factor. Also, the contractor costs, because most of the maintenance work is contracted out, and their costs in terms of fuel, wages, etc., have all increased as well. So the money doesn't go as far as it used to go.
Okay, sure. Councillor Thomas will obviously pick up on that. Right, can we move on into number 7, and it's Paxton Hood-Williams. Councillor Hood-Williams, could you ask your question, please?
I'm sorry, Chairman. I didn't realise I was going to ask a question. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be asking now, but there we are. I think it was probably around basically.
When we had our pre-meeting last week, Councillor Williams who inquired about regarding new developments.
Yes, sorry, that's what I was going to go on to say. I think it was around that, and I thought really perhaps you were going to pick that up, because I know it's an important point as far as you're concerned. But certainly, wherever we have new developments, obviously we would want the department to be looking at taking every opportunity to make sure that there are footpaths within those developments which lead people into areas, also connect with areas where we've already got footpaths. Classically, there's one up, I think, Mynydd Bach Way, which will connect effectively to Pentagare Woods, that sort of thing, and making sure that within one of the 6 agreements which have already been mentioned, that those footpaths are provided for the public to use.
Okay.
So
I honestly thought you were bringing that up, Chairman, so I was leaving it for you.
Okay, no, I didn't understand for you because when we had the
my apologies.
Okay, of course, that's great.
So I mean, I think I did touch on this earlier, but perhaps just to explain a little bit of a background there. The countryside access team consulted all planning applications which are within the vicinity of the path network, and the officers also check the weekly list of applications as well, proactively, just to see if there's anything that they could possibly be affecting the network, or could result in improvement to the network. The officers also involved in pre-apps, where the rights away to ensure that there's the path network is maintained and enhanced, And similarly on when preparing, we go through the process now of reviewing the local development plan. Obviously we were consulted on the current local development plan and on the review again, be involved in identifying where any existing routes could potentially be affected within the vicinity of a development, and how it could be improved, and connections improved. And there's obviously policies in place through the development plans ensure that that it happens. So I don't know whether an officer's got anything else want to add to that, but in terms of dealings.
The only thing I'd add is in the past, we weren't really consulted very widely. And I think recently we've made a big effort on this. And I think things have been overlooked in the past, but you'll see a difference now. I think we've made much more of an effort to look at not just what's in the development site, but as you said, Paxton, around what's around it that we can connect into it as well, even with, it might not connect anything now, but in the future it might connect there, and it's being more forward thinking with the development, the planning applications and things. So particularly with the large developments, large planning applications we've got coming in at the moment.
Can I continue that actually? Because I suppose the easiest way to give a really good example is the LDP sites around the M4 corridor. So you've got the one you were just talking about in Manasbach, the Penplas Road development. You've got another one by the Park and Share in Velindre. You've also got a couple of solar array sites in the area. You've also got another one just north of Penplas Road. I can't remember the exact road, sort of on the road that links into Morrison Hospital. You've got another one then over in Pentlaguer. You've got, and all these, whilst we were looking at the LDP, we could see these sites coming up, and you could see the fact that there were natural linkages that we could forge between the sites. But I think some of that has been sort of superseded in a way by active travel. For example, the new active travel route from Pentlaguer, the site with the tree, I can't think what it's called, which links back past towards junction 45, is it? 46. I know that Morrison Hospital, there's a new potential link road going there, and I know there's also been plans for an active travel route linking back that way. And all these larger scale sites, whilst we've also been looking at ways we can link into them and link into the wider area and into the countryside, I know that active travel are also looking at that as well to improve the network. So we're sort of working side by side on it, but for slightly different purposes. So hopefully that provides a much better network for everyone in the long run.
You're okay, Councillor Williams?
Yeah, it's fine, thanks, Chairman.
Yeah. No, it's a valid question, Councillor.
Pardon?
It's a valid question, Councillor. It's all about making a connection.
Well, I know it's a matter close to your heart, Chairman. I thought that's why you were going to pick it up.
Yeah. No, but I say, but linking, but actually connecting communities, I think which is very important. Can I just ask as well? When obviously developers come forward, I know obviously they put it, but do you work alongside plus the planning officers, plus to give plus guidance when they gets identified that the public rights of way that is going to go through, or outside of that development?
Well, I suppose a prime example at the moment that's in the forefront of everyone's mind is Skyline. So obviously with Kilvey Hill, we've got public rights of way linking across Kilvey Hill. They were introduced 2013. But I know a lot of people in the area want better links, and we've been working with the planning officer and the developers to try and create bridleway links across the hill as well, because there are no publicly recorded bridleway or bridle access across there. And we had a local access forum site visit up there to look at certain links, and so people get a better idea of the area. And yeah, we work with the planning officers.
Great. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Question 8. Councillor Peter Black.
This is an additional question, Chair, when you finish the list you've got.
Okay, yeah, I'll call you in after Councillor Jones. Okay, right. Can I call on Question ready for Councillor Chris Evans, please.
Yeah, sure. So there's been a lot of extra work and pressures added onto the jobs for the staff still remaining with the rights of way team. What we're doing to ensure the extra stress of heavy workloads doesn't negatively affect the mental health of the remaining staff, to ensure we retain highly qualified team members with years of experience.
It's a good question, and one we certainly has been at the forefront of our minds for over the past year or more. And I would say it's not just the mental health, but the physical health as well. It has taken its toll on staff, because there's a lot of additional physical work that's had to be undertaken. And I suppose, you know, we've mentioned earlier, we've had 2 members of the team off on long-term sick, which has put added pressure on 2 members of staff in particular. And it's obviously very commendable the way they've managed to deal with that over the past year. The one officer who's retired, we have replaced with an experienced member of staff, and you know, the posts have been all the posts have been identified as essential for service delivery. So there was no issue when the post became vacant that we were able to advertise and appoint an experienced replacement. You know, the members of staff who have been off have received occupational health support, but yeah, we're obviously conscious of the pressures that staff are under, and there are obviously counselling opportunities that staff can take advantage of. We've also looking longer term. The team, we're looking to informally. We've informally merged it with the AOMB team in advance of a wider section restructure, which will give more support for the existing staff, and especially as you know, I said earlier, a lot of the path network is within the AOMB. They've also provided them with some admin support. So I mean, it's there's help there, but yeah, the heavy workload will continue, and it's something we will continue to monitor, frequent sort of one-to-ones and meetings, and you know, where there are you know, if overloads are identified, that gets escalated, and you know, we have to say, well, you know, that a particular project can't be continued, or we look to see whether additional resource can be brought in from another team to help, depending on the circumstances.
Okay, Councillor Evans.
Yes, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've got 2 further additional questions, and first one's from Councillor Lyndon Jones.
Right, fine, thanks, Chair. Could I first of all say, as a councillor in a pretty rural ward, I'd like to thank the team, because I tell you, I'm often on the phone to them about something or other, or sending them an email, and their knowledge is second to none, and they really get on with it. So for such a small team looking after a pretty large network of footpaths, you know, thank you, really well done for what you do. I have been copying Phil in with. I've met the new National Trust team, and copying Phil in. Are they being, you know, helpful and constructive in how they now help you? As one point, and the second point I'd like to. Obviously, I've had a lot of calls about the footpaths, about trees down, particularly with ash dieback, and with a limited budget. Is that really putting pressure on that budget?
First question, yeah, the new National Trust people are fine. They've been getting on with a lot of the clearance in Bishopston Valley, which is what you're alluding to with regards to some of the ash dieback work. Ash dieback, well, any trees over a footpath is the landowner's responsibility. Now, sometimes we'll go out and do it because people want to use the paths. The paths are busy, and if we obviously it means I've got to go out with Caroline or Kevin as a banks person because I can't use a chainsaw on my own for health and safety reasons. There's only certain tree sizes I'll be able to go up to because that's all I've got on my ticket. So yes, in answer, it does create more pressure, but sometimes we can put it back onto the landowner. Sometimes we just have to say, we'll get onto it. We've got a day on the saw in X amount of days, and it'll be on the list of ones we're hoping to get done on that day. And that's all we can do, really. We can't do any more. We try to wait till we got a couple in a certain specific area, because obviously it takes a lot of time to get round to all the different areas, and especially walking to site from the truck. It can take us half an hour, 40 minutes just to walk to one tree. But luckily, people are getting much more switched on in the way they report it. For example, they're sending us through photographs. They're using what3 words, which can give us a much, much clearer indication of where exactly the tree is. And just the photo, to be honest, is the easiest thing for us because we know most of the paths pretty well. And we know a lot of the landowners, so we can literally just email land and say, look, you've got a tree down, you've got to clear it. And sometimes they'll just do a basic job, and then we can go back and clear it a bit wider when we have a bit more time, if we can, just to make it look nicer, for want of a better word. But yes, it does create additional pressure, as does everything. COVID's created additional pressure, people using the paths more, but then we want people using the paths because then they're healthier mentally and physically. So it's catch-22, but a sort of good catch-22 in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks very much.
Okay, Councillor Jones, yes? Yes.
Fine, thank you, Chair.
Right. Can we move on to the next question, Councillor Peter Black?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When the officer was introducing the report, he commented that there was a difference between Welsh and English legislation, which was causing some issues for us. Could there be more specific as to what those differences are?
Wondering whether Chris Dale could answer that question, because I know it's close to his heart.
Okay, Mr. Dale?
Sorry, I just switching my microphone on. Yeah, the main one that annoys me in particular is that about over 10 years ago, English authorities did not have to advertise their diversion orders or any type of path order in a local newspaper. Instead, the law was changed in England to instruct local authorities to advertise such orders on their website. So obviously that didn't cost anything. So whenever we have to advertise orders twice, normally in the Evening Post. So I mean the cost can be quite a lot over a year. That's permanent orders. I don't think there's any change in England in regard to temporary closures. The other issue is in England, they've been able to, this gets very technical, they've been able to incorporate what we still have to produce two separate orders. When we divert a footpath, we produce a diversion order. And in order to put that diversion order on the map, we have to produce another order to put it on the map, on the definitive map. In England, they've incorporated those two orders, again, for probably about 15 years. So it saves a lot of time. You only have to produce one order. You only have to get it sealed by legal once. And we still appear to be waiting for that to happen in Wales, if it ever will happen.
Do you know whether representation has been made through WLGA to Welsh Government about this?
I'm not sure about WLGA. Certainly representations come from people like me. who are trying to struggle with this issue on a daily basis, but so far to no avail.
Okay, it might be worth this committee making those representations as part of this scrutiny then, because I know that I've done highway orders for my own ward, and the cost of just advertising the Evening Post is about £3,000 a go. So I can see the money being eaten up quite quickly in terms of these adverts. So I think that's certainly something which we might want to make representations for. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Uber. Yes, and there's a valid point there, definitely. Whatever sort of pressure you can put on, the better. Councillor Stevens, please.
I know, just to come in there, like in terms of the highways, and it is quite a bit cheaper when they are actually badged up as well, isn't it? As you're aware of, from your ward work with it, Peter. I'd be happy to also relay some of the comments in terms of the differences in legislation there, and put forward to WLGA as well. So.
Yeah, we do tend to join them all up at once to try to save money, but it is expensive business and it will eat into your budget quite quickly. I assume that diversion orders are normally funded by the landowner if they're seeking to divert them. You muted, Chris.
Sorry. Yeah, that's true. But we do actually do sometimes, if we want to create a new footpath, purely for the benefit of the public, it's the same process. 2 adverts have to be made. Sometimes we do divert paths, again for the benefit of the public. Again, same rules apply. We have to advertise twice. At the moment, it's going to delay benefits to the public because we haven't got the budget to actually do the advertising. So I mean, I don't know why Welsh Government haven't acted. I mean, the legislation is there in England. I guess you could just extract it from England and put it in Welsh legislation. There's very little work to be done out of thought.
Yeah, my guess is secondary legislation as opposed to primary legislation, which means they could do it as an order in council as well.
I think actually it is primary legislation.
It is primary.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks for that response. So there, if there are no other further questions, can I thank the cabinet member and the officers for coming along today. It's been very, very interesting to say the least, and I think there's quite a lot that we've learned here today as a committee. And as I say, I'm sure we'll go into discussion on this now. If the officers would like to leave, if cabinet would like to leave, so that the committee then we can then go through what we've evidence we've taken today.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks.
Ta-ra.
Actually,
To the officers.
lost a couple of councillors, I think, as well.
I think the councillors have gone offline as well. They obviously were meant to stay on to go through the information we've collected today. Well, so everything else back on.
Might have lost.
Stories.
A lot of
See them, we guys just stayed on.
Victoria's got that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I go. Thank you, gentlemen, and your colleague and lady. Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, that's no problem. That's no problem. Yeah, yeah. Thanks again. Thank you. There you are, right? We're going to the discussions and conclusions. Keep recording.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. There was quite a lot that we think we've drawn out from there. Clear issues around clarification on the funding and the grant element. clearly about issues of having departments to perhaps work together, see how we can promote the rights away, and probably ways that perhaps they can perhaps look into now, which we can put within the report. And of course, about everybody sort of working in partnership. I'll open it up now to members. If you want to sort of flag up areas which you feel we should contain with our letter, our response within our letter, Councillor Black.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we definitely need to highlight this discrepancy between Welsh and English legislation and the impact it's having on the department's quite limited budget, and maybe make recommendations to the cabinet member that they lobby Welsh government to change that. I'm sure some suitable bill is coming forward. The Welsh government could do that as part of that. You never know, you look. And secondly, the other thing I thought, apart from the budget issues, which I think needs clarification still, I did raise at the beginning the active travel network, and I understand completely it's completely separate to the actual public rights of way map, which is a statutory matter. But it does seem to me that we're having some departmentalisation here, some silos going with the active travel routes being maintained by highways, and this public rights of way being maintained by a separate team, when actually when we're looking at trying to join up routes, as was highlighted by Paxton in terms of developments, it would be useful to have a more a better overview, if you like, of the whole thing, and try to put the active travel routes on a more statutory basis as well, though that of course is going to cost money. But I think that's something which we need to look at, how we're integrating the new active travel routes into our rights of way network, albeit on maybe a different status.
Yeah, I totally agree, Councillor, and I think it should be seen that we working as one council, departments were working in partnership. I think I think that needs to be properly joined up. Councillor Lyndon Jones.
Great, fine idea. I support that. I think Peter's first question was about that, and it seemed like a bit of a dog's breakfast we really need plans in place to tidy it up and get a joined up approach, and I'm sure that would help assist everybody. The other thing is the need. I mentioned the National Trust, and I think it's quite important to get the active travel team to work with those, and I'm sure they are now, and I certainly copy the National Trust into the active travel into the footpaths team when I'm contacting them. But it really is important that they actually get that joined up work, because I very often had the National Trust do some work on land that they own, but otherwise I would have been the footpaths team doing that work, so it is important that we get that again joined up. The other thing, possibly, when we mentioned about getting out into the communities, we all are involved with community Facebook groups, and maybe we could promote that. I do, but footpaths through that medium as well, and we could encourage the team and the council to do that and to send stuff out to us so we could promote it.
Yeah, I say that. But I think it is as well. It's all about the marketing as well. I think we are selling the product. To let people what's out there. As I said earlier when I spoke, the officers of plus people who've got family live in Swansea, who live away and come to Swansea and would like to use those routes, but I know exactly no information about the routes. If there's sort of any designated sort of points along that route of interest, as I said, it's about marketing as well, and as I said, plus using the sort of links within those communities, if they got a library or a local shop, because some are rural, to give people information. And as I say, the central bus station and railway station, if there's information out there as well, so we can get that message out about we are promoting our rights away in Swansea. And of course, I think the most obvious ones I think could be which we could automatically do a big sort of hit is, as they say, if we closed an A4 on the public rights of way in Swansea, within the sort of annual council tax bill that gets sent to the residents of Swansea.
Yeah, I also, in my case, I used some of my community budget to produce a map of all the footpaths in my ward, which I then delivered door to door.
Yeah.
And you found that some people knew some of the footpaths, but very few people knew them all. And it did increase footfall quite a bit.
Yeah. Councillor Black, you could come back.
Yeah, I haven't got a single footpath in my ward, unfortunately, which is a public right of way, but I have got some cycle routes. I'm just following up on this marketing thing. I mean, I'm a bit out of touch with what exactly we do in terms of marketing the city and county as a tourist destination. But I know we have a huge spend and input to the local economy from tourists coming to Gower and to various other ones. A lot of them come from the Midlands. A lot of them come for active holidays in Gower, walking, cycling, etc. And I'm sure we do promote that quite well. But I think maybe we should be asking the public rights of way team if they can make sure that what they're doing should be incorporated in that marketing, so that when people do find information about the city and county, they can also find information about walking routes and cycle routes as well. So maybe we should be promoting that better as part of our tourism marketing, as well as making those leaflets available for local people. I remember some years ago there was a very useful leaflet on the waterfalls of Neath and Dulles valleys, which was excellent, and you'll be able to explore all the waterfalls. And that sort of promotional material, I think, would go down very well locally, but also go down well as part of marketing the tourism product.
Definitely, and working with Steve Hopkins' team, you know, as I say, about partnership, working together as one council, you know, with everybody being involved. And clearly there's an issue, obviously, about the issue of resources within the department, and plus if we can perhaps we need to flag that up to see if we're going to try and promote this area. It would be beneficial then to look at increasing the support within that department. I think that would be the argument that we should probably be using if we're going to promote public rights of way and promote it as tourist areas of interest in the city, county, Swansea. If we got the resources, we can enhance that further. Chris Evans, Councillor Chris Evans. You're on mute, Councillor Evans.
I was going to suggest possibly on that we could look at maybe apprenticeships to help out with things like the outdoor work and some of the path clearance, and then sort of coming into the office to see what the officers do, and sort of using it as a training scheme to bring through another group of future right of way officers.
Excellent idea, Councillor Evans. Excellent. Councillor Paxton Williams.
Just to move away slightly, one of the points I try to make regularly, in essence, with local access forum meetings on a national basis, is that the investment you require for footpaths is comparatively small compared with other major developments, but the return is huge. And the coastal path is a classic example of what's happened across Wales in that respect. Not that expensive to install, but it's brought an awful lot of people into the area, whether it's Swansea or whether it's Wales as a whole. And I believe myself that investment in footpaths in that sense is really good value for money compared with a lot of other investments, because not only is it good from a tourism point of view, but obviously for the residents getting out into the countryside, health and well-being, all those things are all tied up with footpaths. And it's a message I try and get across. And certainly when I had a chance to talk to ministers about it, I've done that. Haven't seen much results from it as yet, but I live in hope. But it's something perhaps that we can try and push forward as well.
Yes, certainly. Any way that we can add our weight to different sort of forums to show that this will provide dividends. I think it's very, very important that we send that message out there. Okay, is that all? Anybody else got any other questions? No? Right, Rachel, will you draft up a letter now from the points that we just flagged up there? And Rachel will circulate it, and is there anything you feel that you might want to add once in the letter, so we can get that sent off to the Councillor Stevens, the cabinet member, and perhaps through perhaps the main scrutiny committee, perhaps we could perhaps look at this play in 6 months' time to see what we put forward, as if there's anything any of our recommendations or proposals has been achieved. Is everybody happy with that?
We will follow. We tend to follow up the working groups, Mike. So hopefully we'll do that.
Yes. Is that okay? Yes, with everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, can I thank you all for your attendance today? I think it's been very interesting subject area to look at with scrutiny, and certainly, hopefully now that we've certainly floated some ideas about the officers as the panels. Hopefully, we can see some progress in this area, and that we would have achieved something out of this working group panel. So can I thank you all again for attending today? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye
Thank
all.
you,
Bye all.
Bye.
Mike. We